How did Anomaly Collars start? Or can you take us sort of back to the beginning of the emergence of the business?
Sure. Initially, I started out actually just looking for a hobby. I had had an Etsy shop before, and it was just kind of something that I made crafts, and I sold them every once in a while, and it was fun to have something to do. So along those lines, I thought, well, I'll try dog collars and, just kind of have a crafty hobby to do on the side. And so I opened the Etsy shop, and I would post things every now and then. And I continued to get busier and busier, which I really didn't expect. So we're really lucky to be in the position we are now. But yeah, I started off just looking for a hobby, and it just kind of built on itself from there over time to where I could quit my job. And now we both do this full time, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Did the idea for Anomaly Collars come sort of as like a light bulb moment in the middle of the night, or it was just something you gradually progressed towards?
As far as like the concept or the name?
The concept and the name,
Right.
I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think the idea from collars just came from the fact that I have always had dogs in my life, my entire life. I have a small background in training. I've always been a dog lover essentially, so it wasn't too much of a stretch to think, okay, let's be crafty and let's also make it something related to dogs and something that can be kind of fun and expressive. So it's really just kind of came naturally from those.
How did you create the first prototype? Were you previously a seamstress or have a sewing or materials background?
Sure, yeah. So my grandma was actually she was a seamstress. She sewed everything, her clothes, our clothes, blankets. So it was really nice to be able to learn from her when I was really little and be able to practice on simple things and gradually build my way up and to be able to do a little more complicated things and stronger projects. So that was something I was really glad to have been introduced to so early on.
And now that you're so busy, do you still manufacture all of the collars yourself, or do you contract out that work?
That is a great question. We are very fortunate to be in this position where we have trouble keeping up sometimes. So we would like to contract out and or hire someone eventually, but since we live in the middle of nowhere in a very tiny town, it does make it a little more complicated. And also the fact just because we have so many different options, it also kind of complicates things a little bit as far as being able to contract out somewhere and what they could make and what we could make. But it's definitely something that I'm going to keep looking into to see if I can't work something out with someone somewhere. Because we stay really busy and we love it, but we feel like we could grow more if we had extra help that way. So it's definitely something I want to consider for the future.
And with a process like that, you'd almost have to go visit the factory or the shop, right, to make sure that they meet your standards of quality and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely not the simplest overnight project, but and that's exactly why, you want to make sure the quality is what you expect from your own product and that they're going to follow through with that. So one thing for me is also the fact that some require like large minimums or no minimums. So just so many different factors to consider when you're looking for someone to make your own product.
And as part of this series, I actually was talking with a leading pet industry attorney yesterday who handles small pet industry businesses up to startups and even already grown businesses. And I noticed that you trademarked the name We're You're We're You're Weird. Try to say that 10 times. What was that process like? Did you do it yourself or did you hire an attorney?
Sure, yeah. So that was through a course that we took from an attorney that offers courses for creative makers to learn how to file your own trademark and how to look up your trademark and all the different little nuances that you would never, you don't know what you don't know. So it was definitely something I wanted to get help with.
And as an entrepreneur in the pet industry, are there any common headaches that you face or something that you have to deal with on a daily basis?
I think the most common thing would be related to just selling online. It's a little different than selling in person to someone, just because there's so many different ways there can be miscommunication or confusion. just through photos. Sometimes photos might look a different color on different screens. And, sometimes it's communication on the internet obviously is a little different than it is in person as well. So I think that would be one of the main differences.
And do you not have an actual website for Anomaly Collars or Anomaly Collar Club? I went looking and couldn't find one, and usually I'm good at these things. So
sure. Yeah, we do have a couple of domains, and we thought we would have a website last year, but long story short, that did not work out. The people that we were working with just didn't, things didn't go the way we hoped they would. So we kind of had to start all over. But now we're very, very close again to having a website. So I'm hoping by the end of the year at the latest, we'll be able to have our website up finally.
For someone who may watch this, if they're interested in sort of starting a pet-related business, do you recommend they sort of do like you did and start off as a hobby, or maybe jump right in and go great guns right off the bat?
I mean, it can work either way. It depends on what kind of person you are and what kind of business you have. But for me, it was definitely something that I wanted to do slowly. And even though I didn't have any intention of becoming a business necessarily at the start, once things started picking up, my priorities changed to things like, getting the legal paperwork filed and making sure everything's registered with the state and learning about taxes and everything like that. So it's definitely worth doing your homework, I would say, before going too far into things. Taxes alone are a huge headache in and of itself. So yeah, I would say if you're gonna start a business, start with the research and the kind of the core foundation that you can build off of. Get your registrations and your titles and your names and everything taken care of, so that when you are able to start, you don't have to go back and fix things or try to redo your paperwork or catch back up on taxes.
As an entrepreneur, what does a typical day look like for you? Do you check in with your Etsy orders, or do you start off the morning with putting pieces together, or what's a day look like?
Sure. So that's actually changed a lot over the past year too. Initially, it was both my fiance and I were sewing, and eventually we needed to have more time on all of the other things that requires a business to do. So I do most of the computer work. Typically I answer messages in the mornings. I try to make sure I get to, the Etsy and the Facebook and the Instagram and keep track of the social media. And once I have those things taken care of, then I can do things like take new pictures or update descriptions or come up with new things too. That's my favorite part, of course, is being able to introduce new products.
Currently, you offer collars and leashes. Am I missing anything else?
Yeah, collars and leashes, and then we also do keychains for people and lanyards and bracelets, best friend bracelets as well. And then we also have matching flowers that you can Velcro around the dog's collar, so they have a little collar accessory.
Have you done any collaborations with like pet artists? I bring this up because I'm going to be talking with Lily Chin, who's a graphics artist, and I was thinking, oh, how cool would it be if like Lily Chin did an original drawing and you put it on your collars?
That's great. Yeah, I love everything she does. They're so cute. Yeah, so far I've worked with Bad Tags. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. They're a tag company that makes ID tags with really funny sayings on them. And we found that our products complement each other really well as far as like kind of having a funny, quirky theme. So working with her has been great. But other than that, it's been kind of difficult being able to decide whether or not to do that, just because we don't necessarily want to have a bunch of orders come in. We're still kind of balancing everything out just between the two of us.
Yes, speaking of a bunch of orders, did you just come out with the new Paradise collection or something? Because Terry was just walking out the door when I was getting on with you, and she said, don't ask about the order I just put in.
Yeah, we did. We put up a few new summer collars. So
how has the response been?
Good. I think that's one of my favorite things to do, is just put up a batch of new things, because people tend to get really excited about it. And the seasonal ones and the holiday ones are all really fun.
It seems like you you guys are so busy, and Terry and I used to own a small hotel and work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So
Okay.
do you ever get to take a break or vacation, or when you go on vacation, can you shut it off or no?
I don't know if I should answer this honestly or not. We definitely work more than we should, or more than is probably healthy. But that's also has a lot to do with the fact that we do live in the middle of nowhere and we don't have much else that we're going out and doing. So it's hard when you work from home for yourself to not spend time doing things that you know need to get done. So sometimes days are longer than they should be, but it's always worth it. And it's always something that I appreciate being able to do for sure.
And one last question for you, for someone who might be thinking about starting a pet-related business, do you have any parting wisdom for them? Maybe don't do it, or have fun, try and have fun.
I think as far as starting a pet business, I'm glad that you're going to be doing and providing the information that you're going to do, because it isn't super easy to start a pet related business because there's not a whole lot of information out there aimed directly at people that are coming from the pet industry. And I also think the pet industry is really underrated, and not a lot of people know how many crazy dog people and animal lovers there are.